Hey everybody, welcome to HIT.OR.DIE podcast, episode 57. Joined you by your guests, Jake Saldati and Chad Rothford. We got a local kid on today from Clovis West, and then he went to Vanderbilt, drafted by the Texas Rangers. He was in spring training with the Dodgers, actually, when all this went down. Tyler Ferguson. We're going to get him on and get to know him a little bit better. I know I've known him since he was a little kid. His dad coached at City, and actually he and Clarkie would always be out at the City games and practices, and so I've seen him grow up since they were little, almost making it to the Little League World Series, and then college or high school, and then obviously watching both of them play in the College World Series. But Tyler ended up, they won it the year he was there. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, he's a great kid, man. I got to coach him in 12, and all those guys, Clarkie too, and Scott Silva and Garabedian. There's a lot of guys. That team was pretty crazy. You guys, you saw that team. But yeah, man, he had a great run. They went to, I think, back-to-back World Series title games. I think both against Virginia too. They beat Virginia, and then lost to Virginia in 15. Before we get there, you had a couple things. Brad Fonts was put out Friday. That was a great episode. Check it out on YouTube, Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify. Also last week, what was the other one we put out?
Fresno.
Yeah, Zach Fresno. If you haven't checked that one out, still go check it out. Definitely good for some younger D1 guys. And I think today will be good for some D1 guys especially. Fergie's got a pretty cool story. We've got the YouTube page now for the HIT.OR.DIE League or
HIT.OR.DIE the show.
Go ahead if you want to get into it just a little bit more.
Just during this time of boredom, I think it was College Baseball Hub or something was posting pictures of guys creating the college uniforms in the MLB the show. Just because we miss college baseball so much. And I think I did a Fresno City one and an Oral Roberts one. And then I did a Fresno State one. And it wasn't very good. That's why I didn't really post it. But I ended up just saying, what the heck, let's go on and see if I could create some uniforms. So I ended up creating 30 colleges or 29 colleges, and then also our HIT.OR.DIE team, which is consisted of players from our show that played at college and above. And took me about 4 days to create all of the teams. And then I put them with the MLB team. There was, you could download a roster where they had some where there were college rosters, but they weren't all the teams that I made. So I decided just to have the big league teams with the uniform. And then today I finally played a game with our HIT.OR.DIE team. We played UCLA, which was the Dodgers. And I posted Luplo hit a homer in that game, and there's some other stuff. So it's a lot of fun. We'll be posting more things just to keep people watching baseball until at least it comes back. But if you like it, you like it. If you don't, I don't.
It's
really
pretty fun. I mean, you put a lot of time into it. So I have it on right now. I have the UCLA one on right in front of me.
I actually posted the Fresno State one on YouTube as well. It's the end of the game. So I played it. I didn't play the game. I put it on simulation and I recorded it, but the simulated game took longer than 60 minutes. So it cut out in like the 7th inning.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So then I recorded the 7th inning on and then trimmed it just the 9th inning because it was tied 1-1. And then Fresno State pulled it out 4-1. But I posted that on YouTube as well. Yeah, and I'm just going to post little clips like that because just so you can see the uniforms and the logos. And that's the cool part about it is like, we love the college baseball game so much on, Xbox or PlayStation. And that I think it would be cool to bring it back. But this is a way to kind of bring it back for ourselves is, creating the teams. And I even put them in the leagues where, I tried to get everybody together similar. So, yeah, it's been fun. So now I get to play.
Yeah, and if you want to check it out, it's HIT.OR.DIE, the show on YouTube, right?
Yep, and it's got our logo, HIT.OR.DIE logo, but in an MLB logo.
I'll watch the next one here. I think would you say I had an Ofer game? Got me hitting in the
Ofer hitting in the 8-hole. Our team's stacked, bro. It's hard to make a lineup with.
I don't care. I think it's funny as it's on you going through the bullpen and seeing guys. I'm gonna try to get Fergie logged up in here. Seeing Pappy's in there and Dylan Lee's on there and got Labby at second base. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I bet it's tough to get everybody. Carson Seamus right here. You get a little. Is this a pinch hit, AB or?
I was trying to get everybody in the game that I had on the roster. There were some guys not on the roster due to waiver wire because I was putting the MLB guys down and they wouldn't let me put like Pedrozo, Rivera, a couple guys in there that are going to be on the roster later. But yeah, I was just trying to get everybody in the game since I was doing it. Even with the pitching, I tried to get Walden, Dylan Lee, and Brink in. It sucks. Dylan Lee got kind of lit up a little bit.
He just came in. Oh yeah, that Mookie Betts is number 2 on the day.
Yeah. Oh no, he didn't hit a home run there. But yeah, it was. It worked out for everybody to see everybody, but I didn't really want Dylan Lee to get lit up. I was playing because now you have to go 3 hitters.
Yeah. Oh, you have to. It's in the game that way.
Yeah. So I was trying to play it out. So when one guy got a base hit off Dylan, I was like, cool, he'll pitch 2 more. Brink will come in for the last out. And then he got hit, and then he got hit again. But, sometimes guys catch up to 97,
Nah, it's one game. And Chad's playing it, by the way. So if you got a problem with your effort, you can blame old coach.
Well, I mean, the scores, I do actually have the pitching tougher, so the teams are better, Hitting, I don't really give a crap what people think. I'm gonna boost everybody's stats and do good. But pitching, I actually raised the pitching bar to the highest. That way, it's a little more realistic. Because if I had it on rookie, nobody would score, So or nobody would get a hit. I don't know how many perfect games I've thrown in that game due to the fact of playing on the lower level, but. Come talk to me, I guess, if you're mad about your stats. But I'll just sit you the rest of the season.
We're gonna get Fergie linked up here, so just sit tight. Be just a minute. We'll be back with Tyler Ferguson. Welcome back, everybody. HIT.OR.DIE podcast, episode 57. It's crazy. Join us is Clovis West alumni, Tyler Ferguson, was a 2-time MVP, co-player of the year in the track in 2012. Was a first-team selection by the Fresno Bee, second-team All-State. Went on to Vanderbilt and was I think all 3 years SEC academic honor roll.
Yep.
2014 national champion. Mm-hmm. And did you win the SEC tournament or just the SEC?
We never won the tournament. No, my freshman year, we set the record for best record, 26-3, which will never be beat. It's ridiculous. That was the best team of the 3 years too. Crazy. But yeah, my freshman year was really talented because we had some seniors.
And then 14 national champs, 15 runner-up. And you were a 6th-round draft pick to the Texas Rangers and are currently looking at 2020 with the Los Angeles Dodgers organization. Tyler, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a while, man.
It's been a while, and you guys have got a lot of content coming out, so it's been fun to listen. I've gotten to listen to some of them. Haven't gone through all of them yet, but it's been fun.
No, we appreciate you doing this. Kind of want to start back at Clovis West. Obviously, we had a pretty good ball club that year, and just like we were talking a minute ago, I don't remember what your plans were going afterwards or commitments for college, and just remember, coming back from that north-south and Vanderbilt being the pick for you. Can you kind of take us through that process and what happened, and were you committed elsewhere before?
Yeah, so I luckily wasn't recruited heavily young, like when I was like young, like sophomore year or anything, because I didn't pitch. So things came on late, and like nowadays, like guys are committing freshman, sophomore year, which was crazy. So luckily, I didn't get really recruited too hard until the area code games, actually. So it was after the North-South, but it was like a combination of North-South, area code games, all of that, and everything kind of the momentum started to pick up. But yeah, Corbs saw me throw on the last day of area codes because I actually had shingles and was sick for 3 of the days. So I actually I didn't even show up most of the time, but stayed down there and ended up throwing 2 innings last day. Threw pretty well. And next thing you know, like Corbs called. And then I decided to take all of my official visits. So I got to have that experience, which not everyone gets. You know, usually people are going on official visits. It's the school they already chose. So I got to kind of like play the game a little bit, which is the way it should be, but it will never be that way anymore.
Yeah, it is crazy. They are committing super young. But what was it like knowing you found a home and then getting to Vanderbilt and just that culture and even being away from home?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because honestly, 2011 would be like November 2011 was when I committed. So it was kind of right before they got super popular, and it is what it is. Like they had just made it to the College World Series in 2011, I believe. So they kind of were starting to make a name for themselves. Obviously, they had Price and Pedro and some big names before, but just the year in and year out dominance was like just starting to get hold. And the name in college baseball has gotten so much bigger over the last 10 years. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was a big commitment because I grew up wanting to go to Stanford and was able to like have that option. But just when I took that visit to Vandy, like you're sitting there with Corbs and DJ at the time, who was the pitching coach, and Holiday, like those 3 guys were just amazing coaches, and you just kind of felt like at home and comfortable with being there. So it was just like, after going to all those places, it was kind of an easy decision just based on the personalities of the coaches and the just the feeling you got there. It was different.
Would you say a fit?
Yeah, it's one of those where you just kind of, I mean, you hate to say gut feeling, like you just kind of know, but that is like, I visited Stanford, Oregon, Vandy, Tennessee, because Toronto went out there, and Santa Barbara, and it's just like they're all good options, but none of them were, Corbs in that experience, for sure.
So when you finally get on campus and what was your major? Weren't you doing some pre-med stuff, or that was kind of the route you wanted to go?
That ended real quickly. There's probably 1,500 freshmen every year at Vandy, and 900 of them trying to do pre-med. So you go into chemistry freshman year, and you just get thrown into the gauntlet. You're welcome to the call real fast. So I salvaged a C in that class first semester and just said, "Nah, I'm good." Like, I'm not kidding you. First class or after the first test, like you go in and you're picking your paper up, your test off the counter, and like people are like running out crying, like because it's the first time they've ever got like a B or a C on a thing. And I got up there, I was like, 64, here we go. We got some climbing back to do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I couldn't even imagine. I'd have stopped going to that class after day one.
Yeah, no, I grinded through it for sure.
But I mean, your work ethic, dude, you were one of those guys. I remember just, we still talk about it. You one of the last guys to leave, always putting stuff away, getting stuff out. That whole team was that way at Clovis West that year. So I mean, I knew most of those guys were going to go on and be fine in whatever they chose to do in life. And I think, going into that kind of atmosphere, you were ready for that. How was that culture when you get in there in the fall and, the lifting and all that stuff? I mean, was there any moments where like you felt, oh, I'm not quite ready for this, or was it pretty easy for you to adjust?
I mean, I think you have moments of both. Like you're absolutely overmatched at 18 when you have like guys like Connor Harrell and Mike Yastrzemski was there, and everyone knows Mike's name now because he made it split up with the Giants last year. But like, I mean, you're just so overmatched by those guys at some moments that it's definitely intimidating. But luckily we went in a culture where there was like everyone was welcome. Everyone was like accepted, and that eases that process for sure. But I mean, we got after it. We got really strong, really fast. That was an older team with some seniors and just like a strong team that dominated. It was fun. We went 54-12 that year, so
well, and you came back. I don't remember if it was in the fall. It might have been in the fall.
Christmas break.
Yeah, because you brought me that glove back, and you're like, yeah, they said no, you're not allowed to use this thing. And but I mean, your velo was crazy. I think you were up 5-6 miles an hour in a matter of, 6-7 months, and it could have been even quicker than that.
Yeah, I probably topped out at 92, 93 in high school, but I would settle in at upper 80s. It was good, but it was nothing like some guys are these days. But yeah, freshman year, I think I topped out at maybe 94, 95, and when I started, I'd settle in at low 90s. But it was the next year, going at like freshman to sophomore year, after having that whole year of like getting used to throwing, long tossing all the time, throwing hard every day, that whole year of getting stronger and doing all that, that's when it really translated, was sophomore fall. And that's when my velo really jumped.
Yeah, and when go ahead, Chad.
What are some things I just want to know for the younger guys out there that might listen to this, the high school kids? Like, what are some good drills to do to help with arm strength? Because I know there's so many things out there with like heavy balls or stretching or different things that aren't like what we grew up with. But what do you think are some great things, especially at Vanderbilt? Because I mean, even now it's just stud after stud after stud on the pitching staff.
Well, your class, with Beatty and Fulmer and Bueller and
it's ridiculous.
Yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, I lucked out. So a big reason why I went was Derek Johnson was the pitching coach, who left my freshman fall at the end, which was pretty disappointing. But and he's now the Cincinnati Reds big league pitching coach. So he's an absolute beast, and that's part of the reason why I went there. But first and foremost, I think back to your question, like, you got to get stronger before you try to do weighted balls. Before you try to like learn to throw hard, you got to get strong. Like, and that's like, if in high school sophomore year, I was 6'3", $170, and I didn't even pitch all year just because like my arm didn't feel good. And then I put like 30 pounds on that year, just worked out all summer. And that's where I started like see some velo and started to see some change. And then again, going into my senior year, I was probably, 6'4", 210, 215. So, I mean, I'm a lot stronger now, but at least was like, I had some strength. And that was just a huge advantage over a lot of people at that age. Is like, if you can just put on strength, other things will start to fall in place for you. So I would say the first thing you gotta do is just get stronger, because there's just so many high school kids who just don't have the strength. And like you were talking about guys not being able to swing 34s, well, they're not strong enough a lot of times, So, and then once you get to there, like in college, we just we obviously did some plyo balls and got introduced to that, but we long toss like every day. Like, we're talking 300. Like, we play catch on the football field, so it was fun because it's on turf, and you got the field goal post up there, and we would literally just see who could like make the most out of 5, like make it through the uprights from 100 to 110 yards, and who could actually make it through the uprights. So you're not only just throwing as far as you can, but you're also trying to keep it within a range. You're not just airmailing balls arm side, 20 yards. So that was a competition that like me and Fulmer would have all the time, and like, that guy's ridiculous. Like, he would just catch one and he would throw it like 360 feet, just launched over my head. And I'm just like, it's crazy.
Now when you guys did long toss, because a lot of guys think long toss, they throw it up, or were you guys trying to throw it on a line for the most part?
No, we launch them. So like, let it eat high, because, and that's, I mean, it's personal preference. Some guys like to I've being in the Dodgers organization, that we kind of just like talk about, like, Kershaw always throws his ball on a line. That's what he likes, and he's an absolute beast. But like, I personally like to throw the ball high, because that way I don't really cut myself off. So it's like, so if I go far and I can launch it high, it allows me to actually like get through the way I want to throw the ball better. Where if I try to throw it on a line, I'll cut myself off sometimes. So I will go back launching it high, and then as I get in, once I come into 200 feet, then I'll start really throwing them on a line on the way in. And that's where you can get that arm speed up and really learn to throw hard.
Plus, you have those guys there, a crew like that in the bullpen, and you're starting pitching to push each other. I mean, that's probably why those guys have had so much success. You've got 5 or 6 guys, and even your bullpen was outstanding. Mm-hmm. I mean, anybody could be a guy at any moment, and you're all, fighting for Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday starts. It's got to be fun too.
Oh yeah, I mean, college is so great because you're like, you have your, 5, 6 guys in your class, but then you're with the same guys year after year. And there's just this, like, we just had such a good, like, culture of competition. It was just like, who's going to throw the ball? Like, everyone, freshmen came in and the fall would be iffy, but by the season rolled around, they were all throwing a little bit harder usually, just because they're just in that environment where it pushed them. You're not just going out there playing catch like a pro ball. There's guys that go out and play catch and they're barely throwing the ball every day, 60, 75 feet, just like keeping their arm loose. But when you're in college, you have so much more time. You're not playing games every day. So you can just actually work on building up some arm speed and some arm strength. So, yeah, it was good.
I got some – at Vanderbilt, you guys – I know that you have some good stories and some that you can tell and can't tell. But I know watching the game, in between innings, the pitchers would go out down the line and do some weird, like, stretches, or you guys would just do some weird stuff. Who was in charge of that, and who came up with doing those things?
That's been a tradition with Corbs since maybe like he was at Clemson, but he's just like, he wants everyone to just stay active basically throughout the game. And in Nashville in February and March, you're playing some cold games, so it's kind of nice to move around. But yeah, everyone in the dugout just heads out in between innings. And some of them are stretches and some of them are just funny. And, like, if you pay attention enough, you might know what's going on, but it's supposed to be subtle enough that you don't really know. But sometimes they get a little outlandish. But we had a good time out there. And it was just whoever wanted to lead the circle. Certain guys would have certain innings throughout the year, and then sometimes they just, like, pick up someone random and say, hey, what do you got for us? So, yeah.
That's pretty fun. I remember seeing it in Omaha, and it was it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's some characters out there. And, being in the SEC, you talked about just how your freshman year that team was so good. Just talk about playing in there a little bit and just being on the road, going to, Mississippi State or,
Texas,
Florida, somewhere like that.
I was A&M's in the 12, right?
Yeah. I didn't – no, they were in the SEC.
They were in the
yeah, so because they're on the other division – you don't play them every year. So I never actually played at A&M or LSU, which are like 2 of the best places to play. But I did get to play at Mississippi State. And that was one of my favorite places because we were getting absolute rock Friday night. And they had just 12,000 people going at it. And the place was shaking. I'm not kidding you. Like, the place was just shaking because they were so into it. So that was one of my favorite experiences. That was sophomore year. Got to play there. South Carolina is pretty fun. That place is just beautiful. I mean, you're playing in, like, that's a AAA ballpark. That's pristine. So you're playing in great ballparks. You get to play in front of crowds that are 12,000, which I haven't played in front of a crowd of 12,000 since college. In 4 or 5 years of minor league baseball, I haven't played in front of a crowd that big. So, yeah, you get a really fun experience when you play in college, especially in the SEC where you don't get those crowds on the West Coast in the Pac-12. Like, UCLA is not pulling 12,000. You have a good night, you might have 3,000, 4,000, which is a great crowd, but it's not quite that same environment. Like, they're just rowdy. And in Mississippi State, they have, like, the barbecues behind the outfield. So they're just, like, throwing hot dogs to you during BP, and it's fun.
Yeah, Ole Miss is pretty rowdy too, I've heard.
Yeah. We went there my freshman year, and we crushed them 3 straight games. So there was no beer showers or anything like that. But, yeah, it was still a good place. Good place to play.
Is there did you personally or the team have specific rivals? I mean, they're all big weekends. Every weekend in the SEC seems like a must-win weekend.
Yeah, so, I mean, Tennessee's the rival.
Right.
But it wasn't as fiery. It wasn't as fiery. So my sophomore year, they actually beat us 2 out of 3 at their place. Our sophomore year, we struggled in the SEC a little bit. But Florida, it felt like we almost got in a brawl every year. Like that was the fiery, the chippy, like everyone gets fired up when you play Florida just because they were so good, but then they also just like, they had a little bush in them. They were just like, come on, you know? And it's funny because Sullivan, who's the head coach at Florida, and Corbs, they coach together at Clemson. So they're great friends and stuff, but Sullivan just is like a completely different person than Corbs and runs his players completely different. So that would get chippy a lot of the time.
Yeah, he seems like a cocky, chest out, you know.
Exactly.
We're gonna walk out, you know, with
and that's how his players are.
And Corb's just kind of quiet and lets you guys do your thing. And it's funny too. Yeah, they both coached under Leggett, which Leggett was almost a combination of that.
I was gonna say his personality seemed like that.
Yeah, he could be rowdy, could be, you know, calm.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, and Corbs, trust me, Corbs gets fired up. But Leggett came and spoke to us before, I don't know, the regional, maybe sophomore year. He came and spoke to us one time, but he got fired up and was just going at it. And like, we all left the room, was like, that's Corb's dad right there. You know what I mean? Like that is a mirror image of that guy. It was funny.
Yeah. I've noticed with Coach Corbin, and Chad and I have talked about even emailing him to do this. He seems like super family. Like family is like a key thing for everything he does. Just even with his own family, seeing how tight they are with the program, and after every game or win, not even in the World Series. I mean, some stuff I'd even seen at home, like they're the first ones there, and it just seems like a very family type atmosphere for him.
Absolutely. I mean, Maggie, his wife, is there every day at practice, rain or shine. She's always sitting there, just like saying hi. How you guys doing today? You know, checking in on us. And Corbs doesn't have any kids of his own, so like the players, we are his, you know, his hundreds of sons at this point. Like he cares about everyone so much, and so he's one of those coaches that you just like you'd run through a wall for. He may piss you off sometimes, and you don't always believe in everything he does, but at the end of the day, you're like, I'll run through a wall for that guy just because he cares about you so much.
Yeah, no, he seems like that. Let's get into the run, you know, in 14, because that was 15. Just go ahead and get us through 14. You got a better track or memory of it, I'm sure, than any of us do.
14. Let's see. That team struggled more than any other team that I played on. In 3 years, that team had the most struggles, up and down throughout the year. You know, I was the Sunday starter that year. So when Beatty and then Jared Miller for half the year, and then Fulmer on Saturdays, I threw on Sundays, and Walker threw on Tuesdays. And so that was a rotation, and super talented team, but just inconsistent, you know. So throughout the year, you know, we lost 2 out of 3 at Mississippi State. We lost 2 out of 3 at Arkansas. We lost 2 out of 3 at Tennessee. So we had some up and downs throughout the year, and we actually went to the SEC tournament, beat Tennessee like 1-0. Fulmer came in, closed the door. You know, guy on third, like kind of a sketchy situation, but we got through it. Then we get absolutely walloped by LSU, like 10 run rules in the tournament. Then we get crushed by Ole Miss, not 10 run rules, but pretty close. Corbs, we take the bus back to the hotel. Corbs he stands up, he goes, you guys got 1 hour to be back on this bus. Doesn't move, just sits there in his uniform. We all get back on the bus an hour later. No one talks, drive all the way home. He stands up, and we're like, okay, what's going to happen? He stands up, and he's like, you got 15 minutes to be up in the classroom. So everyone cleans up, go there. We get up there, and he absolutely tears us a new one for 30 minutes, just absolutely going off. Kicks us out of we're not allowed to come to baseball field for like 3 or 4 days. And this is right before regionals are starting. So we're just like trying to put it together as a team. But like that little scenario just kind of locked us in. And we had like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days of just great like practice, like a new focus that the team hadn't had all year. And that kind of just like sprung us on that run, really. But it was just funny because it was just, we were so bad at some points, but when we put it together and we focused and, put it all together at the end, it was special.
And you guys get to Omaha, and I remember, oh gosh, what was his name? Your third baseman.
Xavier Turner.
Yeah, had gotten dismissed for, I still don't even know if they ever said what it was. And Tyler Campbell stepped up and had a pretty big series for you guys. And can you talk about getting to Omaha, the ceremonies and just, or even start from your super regional, winning that and knowing you guys are going to Omaha, and what was that like with your team?
Let's see, so we played Stanford that year in the super regional. So won game one. They walked us off in game two, and we kind of walked off the field like knowing we were the better team and like confident. So we rolled in on the game three and handled it, and then we had the big celebration and got to celebrate on our field, which was awesome. And going to Omaha is crazy because it's something you always dream about. And then you're there, and it's everything you wish. Like, you playing in front of 24,000 people. You have the opening ceremonies. You get to see a bunch of teams that you don't normally see because you get a mix of the best West Coast and East Coast and everything. Yeah, but I don't remember the specific games leading up to Virginia, but I just remember it's so fun playing in front of that big of a crowd every day. Just neutral crowd, so it's just a lot of noise, and it's just so fun to play in front of that kind of crowd.
There's a lot of people there, man. That was when KP and I went and watched. Your opener was Louisville.
Ooh, yeah, that was one of our chippy competitions because we play them in a midweek every year.
It was a good game. I forget who the left fielder was for you guys at the time, but he made a catch that was insane during that game.
It's probably John Norwood.
I forget
left field.
It was a fantastic play. And then Irvine was your second game.
Oh yeah,
and
he threw really well. I think that game.
I think that we had to cut. Yeah, it was. That's right. Fulmer threw game one, and then I believe it was Beatty game two, and then I think Texas was the next one, and we had left that day. And I think you guys, that was the game you pitched.
Yeah, didn't go well.
That's all right. Do you remember that day, that morning, knowing you're going to go up there and pitch? Like, what was that? It's your day. It's your turn.
I remember my bullpen was absolutely lights out, and I went into the field and just didn't work out. I mean, it's one of those situations where if I had a double play ball, bases loaded, 1 out, double play ball hits the umpire, and if that ball gets through and Dansby flips it to Vince and he flips it over to first, we got the thing. It's a different story. We might win that game, but it didn't happen that way. So, it is what it is. But I mean, it was such a crazy adrenaline rush that you don't get every day. That's for sure.
And then getting into that 3 games with Virginia, I think was it a 3-game series? You won the first one, lost the second, won the third?
Yep, exactly.
What was that atmosphere like?
That was crazy. Virginia was so good that year too. I think they were like the number 1 team all year.
They were.
And it's one of the that was one of the teams that we knew they were the better team at that moment. They had some absolute studs. But we played a really good game 1. They came back and played a really good game 2, and game 3 we just put it together. Some time. It was all timely hitting, really. Between the difference between 14 and 15 was the things fell our way. We get a chop. I think Tyler Campbell hit a chopper down the line that gets past third base and scores 2 early in game 1 and kind of got us some momentum. And in 15, it's like our hard hit balls are right at their guys, and it was kind of cool playing them 2 years in a row, and having the better team lost both years. Honestly, they were better than 14. We were better than 15, but it's baseball. I mean, that's a perfect example of you got to play. It's how you're playing at that moment and how the ball falls sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree. You guys were more mature in 15, and brought back a lot of innings on the mound, and I for sure thought it was back-to-back.
We did too, especially after winning game 1.
Yeah, that was a tough series. And that was the same year I think you guys were at Illinois when Dansby was a first pick of the draft.
Yeah, that was crazy because, we're stretching out before the game, and someone goes, "Hey, do you know?" And he goes, "It's either number 1 or number 2." So you think about, like, you're playing on the day of the draft, and you're supposed to be, like, number 1 pick, and you're like, "Oh, that's so much pressure." But really, it was freeing probably for him because he's like, "Hey, I'm either going 1 or 2. It doesn't matter what I do today. Today I can just enjoy it and play, and then I'm gonna reap the result of his performance for the whole year." And so that I thought that was kind of like a cool little thing. So he got drafted. Tyler J from Illinois got drafted at like 7, and then Fulmer got drafted at 8. Then we headed back right when we got to the hotel. Bueller got picked at 23. So it was a quick 3 guys right there in the top 23. So that was pretty cool.
And then you weren't too much later. Can you talk about that experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was the next day after we had won it. So we were just on the bus, headed back home. Get a text from my agent, say, "Hey, the Rangers want you at this pick, this amount. What do you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it." My junior year wasn't a good year by any means. So was lucky to get drafted where I did and get that opportunity to go play pro ball. And so I was excited for sure.
Who was your first call?
Probably my dad. Had to be my dad.
How was he? How was he when taking the news?
I can't remember. He was probably pretty stoked. Probably a little tear or something.
It's hard to get tears. It's hard to get tears out of that guy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's easier than you think. We've noticed because I got engaged recently and he got remarried. Tears are easier they're a little easier than we thought they were in my family.
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You're ready for that big commitment? That might be a whole nother podcast, actually.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Thank you.
We can give you some pointers.
Yeah, I might need some. We're getting married in November, so we got a little ways away still. So hopefully everything will be back to be normal and no hiccups with that.
She wants for the wedding.
Yeah, just say yeah.
Well, she's been so busy, so we're behind on planning for sure.
No, and then so you get with the Rangers, and let's take us through your first couple of years and kind of. I know you had some struggles, and I think with the good, with the bad, I think kids need to hear kind of your story when it gets to pro ball.
Yeah, I mean, my junior year, I got the yips, so I didn't know what I was. And it's funny because the yips is such a taboo thing in baseball. Like, you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to think about it, you just don't. And it's the way I was forever. Obviously, and you don't want to admit when it happens, but it just happened. I mean, I walked 35 guys in 22 innings or something, but I threw hard. So basically, I drafted on the fact that I threw hard and I had a good sophomore year. So went into there, with the Rangers, and I already had that stigma. So it kind of always stuck with me when I was with them. So, I had good moments. I didn't really pitch much in 15 after getting drafted. Threw a little bit in instructs and stuff. And then 16 came around, got hurt in spring training. I also got hurt a lot with the Rangers. So got hurt in 16 spring training. Then I went to short season in June after the draft and dominated. Had a blast. Finished the year out in low A. In 17 went low A, high for a lot of the year, up and down all year, struggle. And I had moments of dominating and then moments of where I was throwing BP. And then finished the year in the fall league, which was awesome. That was a great experience. And then 18 got hurt again in spring training and kind of battled that all year. So I only ended up throwing probably 20 innings that year. And then in 19 spring training, I was out there early trying to just get coming off an injury, trying to get as much work in before spring training as I could. And it just wasn't coming together. It just was throwing 90, 91. And for someone that, isn't gonna pound the zone every time to every hitter. Like, it just wasn't good enough. So had 3 or 4 outings where I threw really well, no runs, just getting quick ground balls, which is what I was trying to do and whatnot. And had one bad outing. Next day they said, see ya. So that was that was a bad day, because my dad flew in the night before. My fiance flew in, my girlfriend at the time flew in the night before. I go to the field, 8:30 rolls around. I'm like, hey, Dad, can you come pick me up? I got released, So a lot of tears, but in the end, it's one of those moments you never want to have, because you're just not sure what's next. But it was for the better at this point,
What was the next move for you?
The next move was coming to Sacramento. So that's where my girlfriend was at the time. And there's a place up here called Optimum Athletes and a PT place called Kime. So knew Casey Weathers through a Vanderbilt connection. And this is he's one of the guys that started. And Casey was a first rounder, I think 8th overall pick as a reliever out of Vandy, throwing 100. But same thing, battled command, battled the injuries, the whole shebang. So he was a great just mentor to lean on, because you name it, he's had it, So came here, just told him I don't feel athletic. I don't feel like I'm moving well. I don't feel like I don't know if I can throw hard anymore. Coming off a rotator cuff strain in 18, it's just like, I don't know if I have it anymore, man. I'm throwing as hard as I can right now. It's 91, 92, maybe. I'm like, we got to figure it out. So that was the starting step. It's just kind of like go to him, start talking to him, start communicating with him, and went to PT and started finding some flaws in like not being able to move well through my T-spine and my shoulder and all these things, which were leading to the injuries. So started working away at that and started doing some plyo balls and doing them proper and making sure I wasn't ingraining any of the bad habits I had. So that's where we got started at.
And
do you do a lot of stretching as well?
I wouldn't say stretching, like yoga type stretching. I do like a 30 to 45 minute warm up before I throw every day. So it's not particularly just like stretching, but mobility type stuff for shoulder, back, hips, the whole shebang, really. I believe you should be once I've done my warm up and I've done some plyo balls, like I can rip the ball right away. I'm not like, when I start playing catch, I don't have to just flip it because my arm's not ready, And I'm a big believer in that.
How long have you been putting into this? How long have you been there working out, basically working on some of these adjustments?
So I got released March 19th, and then I didn't leave for indie ball, which I played in the Can-Am up in Trois-Rivières, Quebec, Canada. So I had like 2 months before I left. So I had a good 6 to 8 weeks of working on stuff before I went and played. And we're able to make some really good adjustments in that time. And then just kind of continued that this off season.
How was your time in Canada? How did some of those results, were you starting to see some
right away,
Hilo and command and all that stuff coming back?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like once we kind of hammered out some of the issues I was having, it was like night and day. And I'm someone who's really supinated when I throw. So I was cutting the ball a lot and my fingers weren't coming off at the same time. And that was causing a lot of issues. If you have inconsistency and then your fingers aren't coming off properly, you got no chance really. And so, we started working on just getting behind the ball and really backspinning it. And when I got up to Canada, it was great. Indie ball is a whole different experience, and it's a good time if you have the right coaching staff that's just laid back and lets you play. And that's what we had. So you got a smaller roster, you got a smaller pitching staff. We had some injuries on our pitching staff earlier. So, we were playing 6 games a week with like 3 starters and 4 relievers at one point. So I threw in 54 of like 101 games or something.
Jesus.
So you're just throwing every day, every other day, which was a blast. I loved it. And in that 6 to 8 weeks that I spent working with Casey and Ryan up here, like just prepped me for it. I didn't feel like my arm was hanging. I didn't feel like I was, I needed days off at certain times. Like I felt like I could throw back to back. I could throw 3 of 4 and all this stuff. So when other guys on the team that were throwing a lot, they'd start being like, I can't throw a day. I need a day. I felt like I was able to kind of like stay fresher and like, hold the velo throughout the year.
Did you work on, with the yips? I mean, mentally too, maybe not trusting your stuff or having confidence. Did you get any help there with the mental side of it?
Yeah. I mean, the yips is such a weird thing because it's mental and it's physical at the same time, because I mean, it may not look different physically, but you just don't like one of my roommate up here, he's also had the yips. So like, and a couple of the trainers, and like, I've talked to more people about it, the yips, more now as I've gotten more comfortable. Like it's part of the past, it's part of who you are. You can't like just throw it away. So yeah, I mean, there's just the mental side of like, you have to figure out what you're going to focus on, what you're going to think about when you're pitching. And you also have to just build that confidence and that what you're doing again. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where like you go to throw the ball and you just don't know where your arm is. Like you just don't know when to release it. You're not, like it's the weirdest thing. It's like if you're going to type on a keyboard and all of a sudden you don't know where 2 of the letters are and you need to hit those letters. Like your body freezes. And it's like it's this mental block that you just have to, I think every person has to work through it differently. But it's like, it's a weird experience for sure. Because you're so down on yourself at that point. Like you just have to slowly build that confidence back. I think the biggest thing that took, like, I wanted it to come back overnight and be the same person, but it's more of like step by step. If you take it step by step and just get a little more confidence every day, that's when you start to see results, rather than just being like fighting it for so long and thinking I'm going to go back to that, like take that quantum leap back to where I was. Like, that's not how it happened. It was like step by step, getting that confidence to where it's like, I'm not scared to go play catch anymore. I can play catch on the street with cars and I'm not worried about the cars.
Yeah, but you can also go back to that stuff. And I know you don't want to dwell. You don't want to, it's not something you want to continually bring up, but it's also something that if you hadn't gone through, who knows where you'd be right now too. With the help you've gotten and sought out, it looks like some positive changes. I was telling you about a video. I was watching some of the tape from the World Series and some other video, even with the Rangers. And then one recently you thrown live to some hitters. And you look so relaxed. Everything was slowed down and you just didn't look like in a rush to get to the ball to the plate. It just looks so different.
Yeah. I mean, and I think my first spring training game this year, like that was a huge difference. Like being new with the Dodgers, I showed up and it was like, okay, day 3, I'm throwing a bullpen. Day 6, I'm throwing a live BP. Like day 10 of me being there, I was throwing in a game in big league spring training. And it just like, I was really anxious before, like warming up and everything. But once I got in there, it was just like, okay, we're just playing baseball. And it's just like, I was able to slow myself down where like back, a couple of years ago, it didn't matter what I was doing. I couldn't slow myself down. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't, I couldn't convince myself that like I couldn't be confident. Basically, there was no confidence there. It was always just like, I don't know, overanalyzing the situation at hand. If that makes sense.
I mean, Roth, you ever deal with that stuff when you were playing?
As a pitcher?
No, I mean offensively. It's even more offensively. I mean, you're getting a bad rut.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I think with hitting, it's a little different than like pitching, because there's a little more things you could do as a hitter to kind of overcompensate with like your stride, maybe go no stride, or your hands choke up, or, as a pitcher, I mean, you're not just going to change your whole delivery. Like, you know what I mean? There's just so much more with when stuff goes wrong as a pitcher than I think as a hitter. Plus what helped out with me is I was a switch hitter. So if I wasn't feeling good, I would kind of just be like, okay, I'm just not going to hit left-handed today. I'm going to hit right-handed. So then I get my confidence back up that I'm hitting right-handed. So then I don't even think about left-handed. And then the next day I go and I just start hitting left-handed, and that confidence kind of just switches, So I think that's what helped me out being a switch hitter. If I was just, a right-handed hitter, it could probably have been different. But yeah, I've had my slumps. Everybody does. But you just try to, like Fergie was saying, mentally, you don't want to get down on yourself so much, because then you do lose your confidence. And baseball is so much about being confident in what you do that, I kind of just said, I'm going to get confident in this. So then it brings my confidence back to my other side of hitting. So
I think
absolutely.
Another difference is, offensively, tomorrow's another day, whereas a pitcher, I got to wait another 4 or 5 days to get back out there, and face that music again. And if you're not mentally ready, that's 2 bad outings. Now you're, another 5 days away. So it's definitely a different approach. I get that. But I just figured, both being professional baseball players, getting that mental side of it, it's, everybody, like you said, Chad, everybody deals with it. So when did you start talking with the Dodgers? When did that start to come about and eventually getting on with the organization?
That actually was pretty random, like kind of came out of nowhere. Came back for like playing in the Can-Am League, there was no scouts. So even though I had a solid year, there was no one there to watch it. So it's kind of just like, not depressing, but it's kind of like, oh shit, like, I don't know if anything's going to happen now, So came back and threw some bullpens at the place I was working out at before we went up to Driveline. And one of the guys posted it on Twitter, I think. So then it got retweeted by Flat Ground. And this is a whole nother ballgame of baseball nowadays, just Flat Ground and Pitching Ninja and all this stuff. And basically it got retweeted and got seen by a lot of people. And then Walker saw it and he sent it to the front office and said, hey, give this guy a look. And then, I talked to him in, I don't know, it was October, and then didn't really hear much back. And then it was like middle of November or so, just got a text. And it was like, hey, we want you to be a Dodger. What are your thoughts? And I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. Like, no hesitation, like, you don't have to promise me anything. You want me to come to spring training with no promises? I'm good with that. Just give me the opportunity to get back in affiliated ball, because once you're in, it's like, I threw in big league spring training twice, which means I'm throwing in front of 25 teams or 20 teams, however many scouts are there. Cause there's so many, so once you get your foot in the door, it's a lot easier to stay around because there's more people watching you. But getting your foot in the door is sometimes the hardest part in today's game, because there's so many guys that throw 95, like right-handers that throw 95. I'm 26 and haven't played in AA. Like, it's like, if I played in AA, you have more leverage. If you haven't played in AA, and you're 26, it's a little harder. So there's just so many extra variables that go into it. So was stoked when I got it, and I've loved being part of the Dodgers so far. In the short time.
How was that, being in spring training and doing good, and then all this happens? It kind of shuts down. Not saying your opportunity, because your opportunity is not up yet, but you know what I mean. Like, you get your foot in the door, like you're talking about. You're doing good. Even pitching in big league spring training is something in itself. People don't understand. Not everybody they don't just say, "Oh, who are we going to pick today, Fergie?" They have their roster or who they're playing that day weeks in advance, or so forth. So getting that opportunity is huge, and then this happens. So what's your mindset like, and trying to stay ready to go?
Yeah, so I was in JIC camp, so just in case. So if you're not in big league camp, they have like pitchers that are in JIC camp, so just in case camp, and there was like 14 of us in there. So 3 to 5 of us go over every day, and that first day, they're like, hey, make sure everyone goes. If you haven't met Doc, go introduce yourself to Doc. So go eat lunch over there, and Doc's not. So I walk in, say hi to Doc, and talk to him for like 5 minutes. Great guy. He's like, I'll get you in there today. I was like, all right. Like, not sure if he's being honest or not. We had to cover like 3 innings, but there were 6 of us, and 5 of them had been with the Dodgers before. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna actually get in this, but it was awesome to get my foot in the door. It was like the first. I think it was game 2 of spring for the Dodgers too. So went out there and went punch out, infield single because we were shifted, soft fly drive to left, and then a 2-2 blooper to center. So they ended up scoring a run, but then I punched out the next guy too. So it was like, gave up 3 singles and they weren't really hit hard, but I had 3 punch outs. So what matters are punch outs and weak contact really as a pitcher. So this kind of gave me a lot of confidence going forward there. And the Dodgers just have a great culture. They're like, we don't care what you do, just be yourself and play well. Like, I love that. Like, there's no, they don't care what you wear to the field. Like, they don't care, how you look on the field. Like, just look good. Like, just be a professional and play well. So they allow everyone to bring out their personalities and stuff. So I felt like that's really comforting. And then, it was kind of random. I was backing up that night that the NBA got shut down. So we're sitting in the bullpen talking about it. And we're like, well, are we going to be next? And so it was like the next, or like a day or 2 later, all of a sudden it went from we're playing spring training games to everyone has to go home. It wasn't even like an option. It was like, facilities closed on the minor league side. You can't come here. Like, don't try. So I would have loved to stay out there, obviously, but I'm glad I came home and been able to get all my work in here. But at first I was kind of like, dang, there goes my opportunity, because you don't know if they're going to cut numbers. You don't know what they're going to do to just because they don't want to pay guys that aren't even playing. But once I sat down, I was like, okay, this actually might be better. We're going to come back with bigger rosters. So that means, say there's 3 more pitchers in the big leagues. Well, there's 3 more pitchers that go from AA to AAA. It's a domino effect. So, I'm not sure what is going to be next, because there's not going to be any baseball below AA, I think, this year. So I'm not really sure. Hopefully I get to go back out to Arizona and back up and get, maybe get an opportunity at some point. So just staying ready, but hoping that it comes sooner rather than later.
How was it, being in spring training, and obviously Mark Pryor was named the pitching coach, and Billy Seamus, we all know Billy, and he was the AAA pitching coach, but he was up there. Did you get to work out with either of them?
I've talked to Mark a little bit. Talked to Billy when he was on the big league side a lot during the day, so you don't get to see him as much. But now we have Zoom calls like 3 times a week, so I get to talk to Billy every other day, basically. But they have there's so many smart pitching coaches within the Dodgers organization. Everyone's really knowledgeable. So you can go to anyone really, and they're going to have an answer for you or have an idea of what direction you need to work on or whatever. And if they don't know, they'll go talk to someone who knows and get that information to you. So, but yeah, they have a great coaching staff.
You ever reach back out to Coach Hanna just to see what he's?
I talk to Coach Hanna every once in a while. We get together at least once a year for some doghouse. Me, him, Ryan, and Scott. So we still stay in touch.
And Ryan, that was interesting too. See Santa Barbara get to Omaha. You ever talk to him about his time there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna probably go play golf with him in a couple of weeks if we can get down to Santa Barbara. But yeah, that was awesome because I got to experience that twice, and just to have someone like one of your best friends get to experience that for himself. That's such an awesome. That's so cool to see.
It probably didn't hurt that it was a walk-off granny against Louisville either.
Yeah, I don't know what that pitcher's throwing a changeup for, but you're throwing 100 and you're going to throw a changeup to a second-string catcher?
He had
pinch hitter.
20 at bats all year or something like that.
Gosh, I mean, that's just, I don't know who's calling, but they
And he was a first round pick, right? Was that Birdie or something?
That was Birdie.
Yeah, it was Birdie. There was him and his
deserve
brother throw 101.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
But that was awesome.
All those guys. Yeah, that was a fun group, man. You know, have you heard anything? Is there any truth to some of the stuff out there saying in the next week they're going to start calling guys back out for workouts?
I mean, Arizona opens up on the 15th is what I was told last, which is pretty soon. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. So what I've heard so far is basically it's going to be like a 2-week re-entry program, whatever that means. So there's going to be some sort of isolation for 2 weeks before you can kind of like get rolling, I guess. But I just don't know how they're going to do it and what all the rules are going to be, because you have to have an agreement between MLB and the Players Association, and what are your fellow players, guys that you talk to on a daily? What are they saying about all this?
Like Dan, what about Dansby? He's one of your best friends.
I mean, I haven't talked to him in probably 2 or 3 weeks about it, but I mean, no one knows. There's been so many different situations thrown around, and it's kind of like a constant revolving like situation. So, I mean, the MLB baseball is going to be played at some point. I think they're hoping July 1st, like tentatively, with Arizona opening up May 15th. It gives them, 2 weeks of trying to get players out there. It gives them 4 weeks of maybe some prep before they start games, which would, if they can get 4 weeks of, that would be pretty solid, rather than like a 2-week spring training, because then guys are going to be all sorts of off. And I don't know how happy your guys that are like a Mookie who's making $28 million going into free agency. Like, if he's not ready, he doesn't want 2 weeks to get ready for a 3-month season. He's got to perform still so that he can make his free agent money.
Right.
So,
I mean, are guys concerned about it? Like, worried about
the big league? Well, the big leaguers aren't worried about it because they're all getting their year of service time. Honestly, like that. When I talked to Dan's probably shortly after it happened, and they're starting to come with, like he said, 95% of the guys, like the biggest thing that the Players Association wanted was their year. Every player gets their year of service. So whatever their service time was last year in the big leagues, they get that, because that moves everyone up in their contract. So yeah, they want to make their money. But if you get an extra year of service time, you get an extra year of pension, you get an extra year of, you're going from year 2 to year 3 of ARB, or I know there are a lot of things that people might not have heard of before, but there's just so much to MLB baseball that people probably don't understand between contracts and all that stuff. But yeah,
especially year 9 to year 10, that's
I mean,
10 years in the bigs, you're set for life.
Yeah, every year of service time, your pension goes up 20,000 up to 10 years. So service time is huge, and so that was, I think, the first thing that players wanted guaranteed.
Is there concerns with the virus itself? I mean, are guys worried about traveling and being at other ballparks, being around other players, being around staff? Is that something talked about amongst you guys?
I don't think that hasn't been a huge worry. I think that they're going to have enough precautions in place and there's going to be some sort of rule. Like, I think the Japanese or Korean leagues have already started, and it was like if a player gets sick, then there's like 2 weeks of shutdown or something like that. So I'm sure there's going to be something like that in place. I know they're going to try to do the antibody test to see who's safe and who's not safe, and just have as much information as they can so that they can make the right decisions. Like, you're trying to obviously keep everyone safe and healthy, but you're also not trying to lock players up away from their families for 3 months.
Absolutely. So, I hear that. Now, just hypothetical, but you're say you get back there and you perform well, and they're talking about maybe even playoffs being in November. There's a wedding plan, so
yeah. Well,
the wedding can wait.
The wedding.
I think Taylor said that if I'm playing in the big leagues, we can make some adjustments.
Right. Well, then you got a good one, my friend.
we've already she's already acknowledged that fact. She said if you're playing in the big leagues, then it's okay that if we have to make adjustments.
You did good. You did good. Ferg, man, I got to tell you, bro, it's been a long time. I appreciate you doing this. And, it's been fun to see you grow and from high school to college to the World Series. And thank you for the tickets, by the way. I never got to thank you for that. I've always wanted the best for you, man. And I'm glad to see you with another opportunity. And hopefully when all this gets done and blows through and we get back to some normalcy, man, you get out there and continue your dream.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, it was fun getting to share a little bit. I mean, a little more serious of, the yips and, the college experience. But yeah, I like to just share my knowledge. I've tried to learn as much as I can over the years, being around so many different people. So it's fun to get to talk baseball because I haven't been able to do that enough,
Yeah. Well, all the information helps. It'll help somebody. So
yeah. Hopefully. I mean, a lot of younger guys I see read this and even you don't have to be a baseball player. I think you can use some of it for other sports too. It's not just isolated to baseball.
No, I'm with you. It's been nice seeing him. I've seen him since he was freaking little bat boy at City. So him and Clarkie run around hitting homers over the left field wall from the left field. So I'm happy for you. You know that. I saw you when you were at Clovis West, a couple months ago or whatever. And, the good thing is, hey, you haven't been released, so there's your opportunity is still going, and I hope that it continues because with your work ethic and the type of person you are, you deserve big things. So keep it up.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I was laughing when you were talking about bringing it. I call his name, the Perry brothers, OB, all those guys. I was laughing because I was listening to that one. Like, oh shoot, I remember all those guys when I was about that big, little tiny guy running around and just trying to. I'd steal Chad's first baseman glove every Wednesday and try to go catch fly balls.
Yep.
When you're 8 or 9, catching junior college pop-ups are impossible. So it was fun.
Well, you've been around it at such a young age. You've been around it a long time.
Yeah, I was like, I caught 3 today. Running around for an hour.
Again, man, I appreciate it. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in. That's going to be episode 57 of the Hit or Die podcast.
Hit or Die.